Hello everybody, it's Glass Half Dead here. Let's talk Kill Team. Yes, this isn't a Kill Team army, but we are talking about Tau today, so this is in some way relevant. Before I jump into it, like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. I have a Patreon too. So what I want to talk to you about today is the latest in Kill Team brokenness, I guess. I don't know what I've titled this, but long story short, there was a Kill Team event, a tournament that took place yesterday or Saturday of this last week. It was a smallish tournament. It was only 16, 17 players. There was a final between Warp Coven and Novitiates, and I think Warp Coven won, and that's all great. No issues. But you'll notice there, the final was between Warp Coven and Novitiates, not Pathfinders and Commandos or Pathfinders and Pathfinders. And I kind of just want to address that because that's a really big issue. And I want to say it's a big issue, not because, oh, does this mean everybody has overreacted to how strong Pathfinders are? I wish. No, the reason this is an issue is because no one took Pathfinders. And we need to talk about why nobody took Pathfinders. There were Commandos. I think there were either 1 or 2 Commando players, and they didn't make it to the top 2. They might have been 3rd or 4th, though. Just a quick aside, if you like this Tau army, which obviously you are never going to see on this channel again being played now because this is a Kill Team channel and a skirmish game channel, not a 40k large-scale game channel. These were done by a guy called the Grim Wargamer. Link is in the description. Looks super awesome. So I didn't really want to make this video because since Chownath dropped, since Pathfinders have been out there, a lot of people are dropping me DMs saying, Glass, are you going to talk about this? Are you going to talk about the Pathfinders? Are you going to talk about power creep? Are you going to talk about blah, blah, blah? And I've been saying, no, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to talk about power creep specifically. But then because I want more data points, I'm not going to kind of frame the whole of Kill Team in that way until we see the 3rd box drop and see what happens there. But in my mind, I've said, okay, that means I'm not going to talk about anything power balance related because I'm waiting for an FAQ or whatever, right? But the fact that we've gone past Christmas, we've gone past New Year's Eve and all this stuff, and we have another tournament on our hands, and there's no FAQ, there's no power balance change, and we just have to accept that Pathfinders are so broken, people refuse to play them. And let's talk about that. So one of the players that went to the latest tournament is a guy called Ryan. I'm going to be talking to him on my Vantage Point podcast later this week, which I either do live on Twitch, where everyone can watch, or later it'll be up on YouTube for patrons only. This guy won at least one of the days at the LGT. I think he won the last tournament at Bad Moon Cafe in London, which is where this tournament was taking place, with Pathfinders. And I believe he was going to go to this tournament with Pathfinders, but then noticed that nobody else was taking them. And so he's a metagamer, he is there to win. Okay, that's what he goes to these tournaments to do. As in his own words, that's what he's there to do. He saw that nobody else was taking them and said, okay, I'm not going to take them. How broken of a game must one have for a top tier player, someone that is very likely to win the tournament, to say, I won't take the broken team? That's insane. That they're so... Okay. So until that happened, I wasn't going to talk about Pathfinders or whatever, because I assume an FAQ is coming. But like, that's so bad. That is equivalent to those of you that pay attention to 40k, if all of the top tier players had said, oh, actually, you know what, Drukhari and Admech, too broken, I'm not going to take them. Obviously, that would never happen in 40k because people like earn a living off doing that and like taking the list that just stomp face with no fun involved. But so, you know, in a way, it speaks to the quality of him and also the Kill Team community that he chose not to do that. Man, that's really bad. And I think that we need to look at 2 things when we address how we should view Pathfinders, because I do think this is a perception issue more than an actual game balance issue, and I kind of want to get my thoughts out there on it, I suppose. The first thing is, are Pathfinders broken? Yes, they are. Here are the issues, and again, I've talked about these on my Vantage Point podcast. Others better at the game than I have said these are the issues. Fusion grenades, a worthy cause, and how marker lights operate. Those are the 3 issues. A worthy cause allows too many chain activations for 1 CP. You either need to bump it to 2 CP, or say it can only be used once a game, or, you know, there's some sort of tweak to make that work. I suppose the absolute easiest thing you could do is say it costs 2 CP and you can't activate the drone controller. Something like that. Fusion grenades are just like the easiest, no brain required auto pick. Just take as many of them as you can. They're so good. They're basically a better melter. Something needs to happen to those. The thing that's been suggested with them is to make them unwieldy, so therefore you would not be able to move and throw them. You would have to move and then next turn throw them. That's kind of like the basic fix, just add a keyword to them. And then marker lights, it's too easy to use marker lights to the point where you can shoot anybody on the map and ignore one of the core tenets of the game, which is obscurity, granted by heavy terrain. So I suspect something that could happen there is, first off, marker lights should degrade faster, so instead of losing 1 a turn, they could lose 2 a turn. That was my thought to have. But other things could be looked at there, or maybe ignoring obscurity could be something else, because they also have, I've got them right here, one of them, this guy over here, he could just ignore obscurity at all times, which is, I think that's pretty cool for one model to do. I don't think that's cool for the ability for any model to do. So, you know, tweaks need to happen there. Those are the 3 tweaks that need to occur that, you know, the pro players seem to say this is what needs to change. So I'm going to assume they're correct. Okay, so those are the problems and those are the suggested tweaks. Now let's talk about the fact that nobody wanted to play them because they're so broken, and then, are they really so broken? So firstly, yes, they are obviously so broken. Secondly, a lot of the TTS players online, who generally get a lot more games in than the in-person tournaments, are saying that actually novitiates are stronger than them. So get ready for that to happen in the real tournaments as well at some point. But the reason that I am hesitant to say that they are broken, we don't really know what's coming next. Let's say, so, okay, forget Compendium. It might as well not exist. As far as I'm concerned, it's the holdover, it's the index of 8th edition 40k. You know, it's fine. It is its own complete game, and then just don't play any of the specialist teams if you just want that box game experience from Kill Team. But I'm not comparing any of the power levels of the real teams to Compendium teams. I realise that's controversial among some, but it's not to me, so let's move on. So if you remove all of the Compendium teams, okay, completely forget them, Tau are probably still the best, okay? But they are only the best out of 6 factions. That's not a huge amount, and let's assume that Vet Guard and Commandos are like the baseline, okay? And maybe Hunter Clade are slightly below them. Warp Coven are probably on the level, except they play in a very different way because they're a smaller team. Then we have Novitiates and Pathfinders, and they're probably both above them. Now, I'm not saying that's indicative of power creep, it's just the way things have worked out. And I think that actually they're all pretty close, apart from a few broken things. Again, if you implement those changes that I have said to Pathfinders, I think you're pretty good to go. You also need to make a slight change to Commanders, but we're not talking about Commanders. So we have 6 of a possible 18 minimum factions, and presumably more, right? And so the question becomes, okay, Tau Pathfinders are not completely stomping the other specialist teams. They're stomping some of the Compendium teams 100%, but I don't care. Pathfinders are probably winning against the other specialist teams, but they're not stomping. They're not wrecking face. In the hands of a good player, they are always going to win because they are, as mentioned, probably the best at the moment. And I think, again, you have this problem. So you have 2 problems. You have the fact that they are very, very strong because of a few probably unintentional rules interactions, especially with the drone controller linked activations thing. Essentially what makes them strong is just their raw stats as well, like ignoring the broken things. What makes them strong is just, if they get a shot on you, you're probably dead. and the way they get those bonuses of the marker light stuff, which makes them a good good at shooting, as opposed to just we have a good gun but we only hit on 6s or something. That's just kind of baked into them, and because it requires visibility, you're just ignoring most of the whole terrain issues that the whole game is based around. So they're an easy team to play. Secondly, they're an easy team to play from ranged, which means you don't have to be good at movement. You can just kind of sit back. Like if you're up against an elite team like Marines or Death Watch or Grey Knights or anything like that, you could just shoot them off the table. And then you could just go up turn like 2 and 3, 4 and just win on objectives and table them, you know? And in general, in a game where you have you never want the best team in the game to be a ranged team. This is, I believe, why Tau are kind of hated in 40k, because, you know, less so this edition, but in last edition, they're a gunline army. You sit at the back of the board and you shoot the enemy and you win because you table them. Hopefully that shouldn't be as much of an issue in 9th, but nobody cares about 9th, as shown by my latest videos. But it's very uninteractive. It's not fun. And they're kind of the same in Kill Team, which is good thematically. They have so many movement shenanigans and like ways to move around the board fast that they're dashing everywhere and, you know, sliding into cover and popping off shots and stuff. Like really cool thematically, but you don't need to do it because you have the ways to not need to move and still win, and that's the issue. So they are a beginner-friendly team because they are inherently strong in their stats, and they're very, very strong without needing interaction in the game. Those are the issues. And okay, there you go. I've kind of said my piece on Pathfinders now. I'm expecting them to get an FAQ, a balance change, I don't know. Again, like, I'm sure that drone controller activation chain thing is unintentional, and I don't know, I kind of disagree with the way people have taken that, oh yeah, you can totally just activate the drone. But whatever. Not the point. Not the point. I still do not think that Pathfinders are indicative of power creep. And I'm standing by that until we get the new big box and, you know, basically until we get the next quarter of releases. I don't think that there is actually anything wrong with the intended power balance of Kill Team. Obviously, I'm going to talk more about that later. But currently, Pathfinders, yes, do break the game, and that is exemplified by the fact that even a top player who wants to win refused to play them. And that is a terrible state for your game to be in. So obviously, GW need to act on that. How long has it been since Chownath? Chownath was... I don't know why I'm looking over there. I don't have a calendar there. I don't have a calendar anywhere. Chownath was, I think, 2 months ago. It was November, right? And there's no FAQ, power balance, data slate, like they get in 40k. The FAQ is slow. I think that can't be denied. The actual power balance data slate change, fine, you know, I accept that GW needs to wait for tournaments to occur for them to make changes. They should probably keep an eye on the tabletop, what is it? TTS. Tabletop Simulator, that's the word. Scene, because that tends to be a little bit faster and evolves quicker than regular tournaments. And that's the end of the video. Wow, this was really unfocused. I will do better in my next videos. This is just kind of my, you know, my getting back into the swing of things, guys. I'm very scatterbrained today. It's going to get better. My bad. My bad. Next up, or possibly I did just before this, Chaos Chosen. Why aren't they a kill team? There you go. Anyway, if you've made it to the video, that means you might actually like what I'm saying. In which case, consider liking, subscribing, leaving a comment, and checking me out on Patreon. Thank you, guys. Bye.